Yo,
Hey guys,
what's going on in today? Yeah, where the fuck's the line? Alright, I'll go next time. What the fuck is this plateau?
It's just me and my niggas, liquor in a couple.
What's in those last 10 seconds? Why not? Yeah. Queda
always do it on my own, so I gotta get through it. And the only thing I know is to love what I'm doing. Never give up, never slow till I finally prove it. Never listen to the no's, I just wanna keep moving. Keep my head up when I act, head up, that's a fact. Never looking back, I'ma keep myself in check. Keep my head up, staying strong, always moving on. Feel I don't belong, tell my thoughts to move along. Push myself to be the best, die with no regrets. Live with every breath, see my message start to spread. And I had so many dreams, then you hit your teens. Life ain't really what it seems, try to find out what it means. Always do it on my own, so I gotta get through it. And the only thing I know is to love what I'm doing. Never give up, never slow till I finally prove it. Never listen to the no's, I just wanna keep moving. Yeah, I put out all this art, it's my only medicine. Yeah, everything I do, I'm just being genuine. Yeah, I'm sick of being screwed, feel my own adrenaline. Yeah, I do just what I do, and I hope you let me in, yeah. I'm grateful, oh yeah, able, oh yeah, I'm stable, oh yeah, no label, oh yeah, you know me, I have only a path, I'm lonely, but damn, I'm going, I don't want no fake love, I want the real stuff. Everybody listen up, cause I'll only say it once. I'm gonna show you all the path. If you want it bad, I'm gonna show you where it's at. Yeah, how you can get it back. Yeah, cause I ain't never done. I'll be never done. Working hella hard. Get just what I want. Yeah, rises like the sun. Yeah, fatal like a gun. Shooters gonna shoot and I'm gonna shoot until I fall. Always do it on my own, so I gotta get through it. And the only thing I know is to love what I'm doing. Never give up, never slow till I finally prove it. Never listen to the no's, I just wanna keep moving. Yeah, I put out all this art, it's my only medicine. Yeah, everything I do, I'm just being genuine. Yeah, I'm sick of being screwed, feel my own adrenaline. Yeah, I do just what I do, and I hope you let me in, yeah. I'm grateful, oh yeah, able, oh yeah, I'm stable, oh yeah, no label, oh yeah, you know me, I have only a path, I'm lonely, but damn, I'm going to win, yeah.
This is the fate that brought us here to watch my long shine. see your eyes shining so bright with destiny. Tomorrow, see, I'm sure we'll reach our goals, and they're just waiting for us to finally start. No matter how much we try to kid ourselves, you get what you get. We can't pretend this world's perfect. We can't avert our eyes. We must see. I'd hate to steal another's happiness, though that sounds like an easy way out. I would rather fight. Only hard work is satisfying. With this courage, we will know deep in our hearts how to reach our goals. Since this truth, it burns right through you. When you start anew, you'll find something better than you planned. See that great sunrise, lighting up the way that's our done. You will find your way, it's not just a dream. Will you come with me? Join me on a quest to find a future. Tomorrow, see, is a magical place. If you just look on ahead, you will find it. When you're lost or sad and all the world seems bad, know that happiness is on the horizon. Changing colors with all of the changing times. Our tomorrow is still coming our way. Open up that door and walk with me towards it today. Take a step forward, run into this far unknown future. You will reach the stars if you just believe. I can see your eyes shining so damn bright with destiny. Tomorrow, see, I'm sure we'll reach our goals, and they're just waiting for
Traversing through a broken future, I carry on, cutting off the past. I can't turn back now. My final chances crumble down before I can say all the memories you've given me will always be by my side no matter what. Through the endless pain and suffering that I have to endure, I won't let go. I can feel my heart beating with yours, which will keep me going. I will come back so I can save you from this dark loop of death once again. We will aim to make this future ours. I will let you carry all this guilt alone. We can stay together, you and I, right now. Taking all your wishes, you are close. I swear that I'll protect them all with my life. I will break out of this loop. Sounds just like fate to me. I think I realize. Traversing through a broken future, I carry on, cutting off the past. I can't turn back now. My final chances crumble down before I can say all the memories you've given me will always be by my side no matter what. Through the endless pain and suffering that I have to endure, I can feel my heart beating with yours, which will keep me going. I will come back so I can save you from this dark loop of death once again. We will aim to make this future ours. I will let you carry all this guilt alone. We can stay together, you and I, right now. Taking all your wishes, you are close. I swear that I'll protect them all with my life. I will break out of this loop. Sounds just like fate to me. I think I realize.
Alright. I'll get him next time. This one's gonna be one fucking ordeal. Give me the power song.
For my love. watching seals are being now. When I love happen, your whole energy's just a dying. You can win a damn thing. It takes us 9 lives, all my faith in a single bullet. Come out and spin the bullet, feel my feet in love at me. No more bats. This ball there, that of someone I knew. There'll be nothing more than a fancy random. You're rising everything. Empty we're heating ourselves up. Never be afraid, no matter how many times you treated them. The damn chance won't go on. Even my joys in this pure and so beautiful content. Come now and spin the bullet, be heartless now towards me. When I look open, your eyes singing by a single thread. You can struggle fiercely. You take this life beautifully like an art. Return again. Come now and spin the bullet till my feet in love with me. For my love, no more bats. This ball there, that of someone I knew. There'll be nothing more than a fancy random. You're rising everything. Empty we're heating ourselves up. Never be afraid, no matter how many times you treated them. The damn chance won't go on. Even my joys in this pure and so beautiful content.
don't care. I fucked it up, but you know I don't care. Oh, thank fucking God. I actually got one. Holy.
For my love, only know I'm a single void. Yeah, I think one straight back. No more bats. This voluntary that of someone I knew. There'll be nothing more than a fancy random. You're rising everything. Empty will heating us all down. Never be afraid, no matter how many times you tread it up. Second chance won't go on. By choice,
Holy fuck.
A pity. You're all seriously ill, it seems. Lock off! Anyone who wants to leave can go. Are your perspectives truly this limited? You'd rather be the top high schooler in this soccer backwater than the world's best striker? The future of Japan is in your hands? It's enough to make a man weep. What? Listen up. There's no denying Japanese soccer's first-rate teamwork. Call it the result of our country's characteristic thoughtfulness. But in all other aspects of the sport, we are second-rate. Let me ask you this. What is soccer? Is it about 11 players working together? The bonds that you form? Self-sacrifice? Fighting for your teammates? That kind of thinking is why this country's game has remained weak. I'll tell you the right answer. Soccer is about one thing. Scoring more goals than your opponent does. Whoever scores the most is the best. End of story. If you just want a fun game with your pals, then lock off.
What's with this guy? He's freaking nuts.
Japan's team isn't weak. Do you mean the same losers who have never claimed a single World Cup? You're either the best there is or you're trash. Got it? Instead of assisting my teammates to win 1-0, it feels better to pull off a hat trick and lose 3-4. This direct quote from Noel Noah, who beat out Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo to win the Ballon d'Or, tells us how highly the world's best striker values your precious teamwork. Here's one from Eric Cantona. I don't care about my team. I just want to stand out. And from Pele, the world's best forward, midfielder, defender, and goalkeeper. Whichever you ask about, the answer is still me. What you think? Pretty awful, right? But they're three of the best players in history, and they're all egoists down to the very core. That's what Japanese soccer is lacking. It's sad but true. You can't possibly become the world's best striker unless you're also the world's biggest egoist.
The things this guy is saying.
Which is why we're all here. So I can create a player who has what it takes.
They can't be right.
Someone who will climb atop 299 corpses. A solitary hero.
I can't do it. No one. They've achieved nothing.
Picture the scene. You've made it all the way to the World Cup final. 80,000 people in the stands. You down on the field. The score is 0-0 in the second half of extra time. It's the last play. With a pass from your teammate, you're through the defense. You against the goalkeeper. 6 meters to the right is your teammate. If you pass, your team's guaranteed to score a goal. The championships, the hope of a nation, they're all riding on you. Only an insane egoist could take that shot without a second's hesitation. Now pass through and be transformed. Discard your common sense. Remember, out there on the field, you're the star.
This is the opposite of everything I've been taught.
Nothing should bring you more joy than your own goals. Live only for that glorious moment. And if you can't, then you're no striker at all.
They fight as they... A cold, calculating guardian watches from a distance, sitting in a dark, lonely room, keenly observing his students, his unpolished gems, watching with those expressionless eyes as they struggle, as they fight, as they learn, as they grow, as they evolve. After all, this is the man who promised he would create the greatest striker in the world. This is the man responsible for the Blue Lock project, Ego Jinpachi. For the longest time, I never understood Ego. I didn't think he was evil, but I didn't expect him to have any sort of depth or nuance behind his devilish smile and harsh philosophy. He was kind of like this omnipotent being that would show up every now and then to teach the boys a new lesson, or give them some life-changing advice. He was like a mad scientist, an unknown force who wanted to run this twisted experiment called Blue Lock, and create something the world had never seen. That's all I thought Ego was, and all he would ever be. And then, suddenly, came that one moment. A moment that I hadn't seen coming in a million years, and a moment that unexpectedly, shockingly, had me tearing up, lost for words. In the midst of one of the greatest, most exciting, most intense matches, it was this seemingly heartless coach who touched the very depths of my soul. It took just one moment, one scene, one panel, to make me realize one groundbreaking, undeniable truth. Behind all the insanity, all the frost, all the walls, there was no one in the world who loved football more than Ego Jinpachi. And that was the moment he became my favorite character in Blue Lock. I always liked Ego as a character, from his mysterious nature to his brutal yet weirdly motivating words of encouragement. But there was always something strange, something deceptive about how his character had been portrayed. From the very first chapter and the very first scene, there is immediately this off-putting and villainous aura about Ego. The maniacal smile, the dark suit and tie, the thin snake-like form, and of course, the pitch-black, abyssal eyes that seem to stare into an endless void. To me, the very core of this character seems like it was written purposely to invoke a negative feeling from the readers. Apart from the first chapter, every appearance he's made since then has been from behind a screen, a cold approach that creates this sense of seclusion and distance. Truly, at times it did feel like he was a mad scientist, watching over his guinea pigs, or unpolished gems as he likes to call them, from the safety of his laboratory, recording their results, their failures, and seemingly having no sense of attachment towards them. Then, of course, we have his philosophy, the philosophy that is the foundation for every single striker in Blue Lock. To become the world's greatest striker, you must become the world's greatest egoist. Just like Jinpachi himself, this is a concept that sounds negative and condescending on the surface. But as the series goes on, as this philosophy is deconstructed and explored in great detail, I realize that it's a way of thought that applies to almost every aspect of not just sports, but life. Having confidence in yourself, taking risks, preparing yourself for any and all situations, these are fantastic lessons to be teaching young players. More than physically, Ego is preparing these strikers mentally, equipping them with a mindset that can withstand any adversity. Regardless of who the opponent or what the conditions are, these strikers would be ready, firing at all cylinders at all times. Most importantly, the lessons Ego teaches emphasize time and time again the importance of the process, the journey rather than the destination. He doesn't want a player that can score one-off miracle goals never to be seen again. He wants a solid, reliable, powerful player that can consistently perform at the highest level, while constantly evolving. That is the purpose of the Blue Lock project. That is Ego's dream. One of the most wholesome things I noticed about Ego is that every time he would stop by, every time he would have a direct chat with the boys, it was either after a tough loss or a massive breakthrough. And while a lot of his speeches started off as direct and confrontational, with him calling the players garbage, unpolished, while wearing an expression that could only be described as disappointment, those team meetings always ended in the same way. They always ended with each and every one of the Blue Lock strikers being motivated, inspired, and fired up more than ever before. Despite the harsh criticism, despite the blank expression, despite the sharp words, at the end of the day, Ego made sure to leave his players with a valuable lesson or a powerful message. Something to pick them back up, something to keep them going, something to chase against all odds. And as the story progresses, that's exactly what ends up happening. Not just one, not just two, but the entirety of Blue Lock is brimming with strikers striving for greatness. Each and every one of them have a fire burning inside of them, a raging tempest heading towards one and only one destination: the top of the world. Ego slowly but progressively guides them through their training, first nurturing them on a national level during the first and second selections, then giving them a reality check, overwhelming them with the scope of the world in the third selection. Yet, by the time they faced the world, the Blue Lock strikers were already prepared. Rather than giving up, rather than despairing over the deadly, steep distance between them and the top of the mountain, the hunger takes over, the excitement bubbles, and the challenge picks them back up. After all, that is how the greatest striker in the world would think. Through fire and flame, through heaven and hell, these strikers push the very edge of their limits every single day, hungrily chasing that next goal, constantly searching for the next key to their evolution. Ego may be cold, he may be distant, but damn, does the man know how to keep a dream alive. And then, just as the end of the road was in sight, everything Ego had worked for, everything he'd staked his life on, was suddenly on the brink of collapse. After the third selection, the Japanese Football Association was not happy with how much money Ego was spending on the Blue Lock project, and how little results he had actually shown them. Why spend thousands of dollars to pit world-class players against high schoolers? Why not just train them normally, like all Japanese footballers? Alas, the ways of the past cannot be so easily changed, and as these questions pile up, Ego gives a rude but inspiring answer. If you love your child, send them out into the world. But I wouldn't expect old-timers like you, who've gotten comfortable with giving up, to know how to dream. This was the first time I realized that Ego sees the boys in Blue Lock as his kids. He sees this entire project as his child. And while he's not the most empathetic parent, he is looking out for them, nurturing them, guiding them, inspiring them to become better versions of themselves. Now, these people want to take all of that away from him, and as the president threatens to put a halt to the project, you can see the look of pure rage in Ego's eyes. But it is not in Ego Jinpachi's nature to give up. In an unexpected turn of events, Ego presents a dangerous proposition as he decides it was time to show Japan his results. It was time to show the world the gems he'd been polishing this whole time. It was time for Blue Lock's 11 to face off against the under-20 Japanese national team in a massive event that would be broadcasted to the entire world. If Blue Lock lost, the project would be dissolved, and Ego would be exiled from the world of football. And so, as the preparations are made, we descend upon a grand stage, a life or death battle that would decide the very fate of Ego Jinpachi and his unpolished gems. To me, this is one of the greatest arcs in sports manga, and the arc that I will forever remember as the one that completely changed my outlook on ego. The under-20 team proves to be a formidable force due to their powerful defense and their generational midfield talent, Itoshi Sae, a genius who played for Real Madrid. Sae manages to score a goal early in the game, but there was only so much he could do as a midfielder. After all, the goals were meant to be scored by the striker. As Igo had always said, Japan did not have good strikers, and no matter how beautiful Sae's passes, how perfect his assists, the striker for the U20 squad is just unable to make a difference. Truly, this was the perfect stage for Igo's stars to finally shine. It was time for a new era of Japanese football. Throughout the first half, every single Blue Lock player on the field was constantly thinking, communicating, planning, and executing ridiculous plays. Plays that not only took the U20 team by surprise, but also the crowd. From Isagi's vision to Bachira's dribbling to Chigiri's speed, everyone was giving it their all. And after a performance like that, there was bound to be a breakthrough. With absolute stunners from Nagi Seishiro and Ito Shirin, Blue Lock's 11 lead 2-1 in the first half, which is quite impressive considering all 11 players, including the goalkeeper, had been trained as strikers. Yet, at the same time, it makes complete sense when you really think about it, because what Ego taught them was not just how to be good strikers, but good footballers. No matter the opponents, no matter the conditions, the strikers of Blue Lock are always ready, using everything in their path as a tool for growth. As the second half resumes, however, it seems the U20 squad has made a substitution, and replacing their previous striker is a familiar face. An absolute demon who is regarded as the second best striker in the Blue Lock program. That man is Shido Ryusei, and as the second half resumes, Sae and Shido come together to form a deadly duo, with Shido scoring 2 beautiful goals back to back, turning the tables in an instant. And then, as things started looking dire for our protagonists, as their very future seemed to be slipping from their grasp, came that one moment. After Shido's 2 goals, the U20 squad lead the game 3-2, and as Blue Lock's options begin running out, Isagi runs over to the bench, calling out a request as he comes to a stop in front of his coach, Ego. It can't end like this. What should we do? We're fighting with all our might, like you've instructed us, and yet, it's still not enough. Tell me, how can we win? And expressionless Ego lifts his head, giving a response that gets me emotional every time I read it. Don't you see? Blue Lock's already won. Dominating the first half, Shido Ryusei's wild performance, everything played out just as I envisioned it. Blue Lock will indeed be erased once we lose this match, and I will likely be banned from the world of football. But you guys won't disappear. I will vanish, but you will change Japanese football. Be proud. Blue Lock has already won. Wow. Just wow. To see the character who has been distant and cold, strict and emotionless this whole time, to see him speak these heartfelt words was powerful. To see him willingly accept his banishment from the sport he loves so much, to see him selflessly put his boys, his children above himself, was powerful. Despite his arrogant lessons, despite his egoistic mindset, despite his selfish philosophy, at the end of the day, everything he worked for was for the sake of someone else. It was all for the sake of his unpolished gems, and it was all for the sake of Japan. And that's when I realized that there was no one in the world who loved football more than Ego Jinpachi. Isagi and the strikers of Blue Lock, however, refuse to give up as they learned from their coach, and soon they turn up the heat in the second half, evolving and growing in ways unforeseeable, unimaginable, even by Ego. Through Baro's unpredictable, destructive plays and Isagi's last-minute screamer of a goal, Blue Lock's 11 emerge victorious. And as the crowd goes crazy, as the players celebrate their hearts out, we cut to a panel of a single fist. the fist of a man who'd given everything to the sport. The cold, calculating guardian of Blue Lock brings his fist down in a moment of pure, raw hype, and the dark, abyssal eyes we're used to disappear as a hopeful pupil peeks through, showing us his true feelings for the very first time. And that was the moment Ego Jinpachi, and as the crowd goes crazy, as the players celebrate their hearts out, we cut to a panel of a single fist. The fist of a man who'd given everything to the sport. The cold, calculating guardian of Blue Lock brings his fist down in a moment of pure, raw hype, and the dark, abyssal eyes we're used to disappear as a hope. Be proud. To see him willingly accept his banishment from someone else, that there was no one in the world who loved football more than they turn up the heat in the second half. It's out, calculating guardian of Bull peeks through, showing us his true feelings for the very first time. And that was the moment Ego Jinpachi became my favorite character in Blue Lock.
He pulls up on Shigiri.
Crowd goes crazy as the players celebrate their hearts out. We cut to a panel of a single fist. The fist of a man who'd given everything to the sport. The cold, calculating guardian of Blue Lock brings his fist down in a moment of pure, raw hype, and the dark, abyssal eyes we're used to disappear as a hopeful pupil peeks through, showing us his true feelings for the very first time. And that was the moment Ego Jinpachi became my.
It's the final 20 seconds of match time in the most important game you have ever played. The game is tied and the next goal will decide who advances to nationals. You are moving up the field for the final play of the match, and as you approach the goal, you can feel two defenders closing in on you. Suddenly, you hear your teammate's voice calling for the ball with no defenders marking them. Before the opponents reach you lies a window of opportunity. Do you pass to your teammate? Or do you take the shot without hesitation? In this situation lies the thesis of Blue Lock, the decision that separates those destined to become the best and those that lack the key piece of the puzzle, a strong, well-defined ego, as well as the confidence to play selfishly and for your own goals. Now, compared to most sports manga, which are usually built on the philosophy of teamwork, Blue Lock instead declares that fierce individuality is key to becoming a world-class athlete. When we are introduced to Tobio Kageyama in Haikyuu, he has a mindset that is very similar to many of Blue Lock's characters. The key difference is how this mindset is reacted to by the characters around him. Kageyama's ego is shown to be a detriment that limits his potential. He only learns to maximize his abilities when he opens his mind to teamwork and starts to have faith in those around him. This is the opposite of the way we see characters develop in Blue Lock, and a perfect example of that is Barrow. Initially, Barrow is very similar to Kageyama. He's the king of the field, and he's someone that refuses to understand his teammates' mindsets. But instead of treating that as a weakness, Blue Lock finds a way to make Barrow's playstyle extremely effective, even helping his team by creating an unpredictable playstyle that throws off their opponents. Throughout the series, Jinpachi Ego delivers a lot of speeches. Like, a lot. but I think one of the most important ones is towards the beginning of the series, when he speaks about the group-oriented mindset of Japan, and how it lends itself well to sports like baseball, where roles are clearly established, and functioning as a team is key to winning. However, this cultural mindset is a detriment in football, where the skills of one individual can have a massive impact on the game, and the ego of a player is key to developing into an ace striker. So in today's video, I'm going to be exploring 3 characters that I believe embody the philosophy of the series, and we'll be talking about what they personally believe in, as well as what the author is trying to say through their experiences. The first character I've chosen to take a look at is Oliver Aiku, captain of the Japanese U20 team. Aiku started out like many of our protagonists, dreaming of becoming the best striker in the world. However, in a critical time in Aiku's development as a player, he was denied the opportunity to develop his individual skills as a striker, being told that he will have a great career by foregoing scoring opportunities to his teammates and playing for others. In this way, he is the product of the mindset that Blue Lock seeks to destroy. Eventually, Aiku becomes disillusioned with the sport, telling his coach that he has lost sight of why he started playing in the first place. He laments about how the potential for young players like him is intentionally limited, and how this has snuffed out the potential for them to rise above and join the best in the world. In the depths of this despair, however, Aiku finds a new reason to play, and changes focus to become the best defender in the world and to crush the weak strikers that Japan produces. Aiku, however, has not completely lost faith in the players of Japan, and promises that one day if a true striker appears, he will dedicate himself to cultivating that player's potential to help them rise to the world stage. Aiku's function in the story is to give a face to the countless players that have had their potential wasted by the Japanese soccer machine. However, not all strikers have their potential cut short by the mindset of Japan. Hitoshi Sei's development as a striker was the opposite of Oliver Aiku. Growing up, Sei had always been the best player on the pitch, and he was allowed to flourish as a striker due to his gifted abilities as a player. With incredible football IQ and ball control, he quickly rose to the world stage, leaving Japan to join the Real Madrid squad at a young age. However, despite having all the tools to become an ace striker and dominating the field for his whole life, Sei came back to Japan 4 years later as a changed person. After witnessing the abilities of the rest of the world, he had given up his dream of becoming the best striker, instead choosing to become the best midfielder in the world, using his playmaking and passing abilities. Sei was crushed by the weight of professional football, and just like Aiku, was forced to abandon his dream, despite being given every opportunity to reach that goal. He believed that Japan is irrelevant on the world stage, and that no striker from his home country could possibly attain the spot of the best striker in the world. Sei's career thus far represents the challenge of what becoming the best in the world actually entails. By the time of the U20 match, Sei Hitoshi is the only character who has actually experienced the football world outside of Japan. At the end of the second selection, the Blue Lockers played a match against the World 5, a team made up of Sei's peers in professional football, and they experienced just how far away their goals truly were. For the young and inexperienced players, this was inspiring, as their goals finally felt tangible. Sei, however, was plunged into that world for 4 years straight, experiencing what it's like to play against the very best every day, and somewhere along the line his ego was crushed. In a flashback, we see Sei admonish his younger brother Rin, telling him that their shared dream of becoming the best strikers in the world will never happen. Sei shows us that natural talent is not enough to become the best in the world, and how even someone given all the necessary tools can fall short of their goals. Despite their differences, Aiku and Sei are very similar characters, scorned by the world around them and forced to abandon their dreams in order to find a place on the field. Aiku and Sei are two sides of the same coin. One had been robbed of his opportunity to become a striker, and the other was given everything he needed and more, and in the end, neither one could reach the top. There is one character in Blue Lock, however, that is shown to have what it takes to reach that peak that so many others fail to grasp. That character is Isagi Yuichi. It is made very clear to us that Isagi is a striker to his very core. He was the first person to respond to Ego's call and is willing to constantly change himself in order to evolve. Possessing genius football IQ and playmaking abilities, Isagi has been recognized by both his fellow players as well as the world as being the beating heart of Blue Lock. When we see Isagi sacrifice a scoring opportunity and pass to a teammate in the first chapter, it looks like his story may play out like that of Oliver Aiku. However, unlike Aiku, Isagi is presented with the opportunity to join the Blue Lock program. Isagi's most valuable skill is his ability to reconstruct his way of thinking about the game. Instead of being crushed by the weight of his opponent's superior skills in the moment, he adapts to their playstyle, adopts their weapons into his own arsenal, and ultimately surpasses them using those same tools. His mindset and playmaking abilities are noticed by everyone he plays with, including Oliver Aiku and even Sei Itoshi, who had repeatedly refused to acknowledge any of the Japanese players. Sei even remarks after that U20 game that Isagi will become the player to change Japanese football forever. The core philosophy of Blue Lock from the very beginning has been to break the limitations of Japanese football and to be a place where the best striker in the world could be created. Isagi started the series as a relatively unimposing player with average physical abilities and, to be honest, a limited amount of experience playing at a high level. Blue Lock gave Isagi that environment to gain the experience he needed and to completely rewrite his understanding of the game from the ground up. There are many extremely gifted players in the Blue Lock program. Geniuses like Nagi Seshiro, Rin Itoshi, and Ryusei Shido all possess the abilities to become world-class strikers. These players, however, lack a key piece of the puzzle that will stop them from becoming the best in the world. Throughout the series, Ego has remarked that genius levels of talent are not the key tools needed to rise to the very top. In order to become the best, a player needs to be able to break through their limits endlessly, and constantly improve their playstyle to overcome the challenges in their way. Nobody is born with the talent to become the best. Players like Nagi Seshiro have the ability to make extraordinary things happen, but he and many others in the program are limited by his genius, and will never be able to break through the limits of their potential the way they are now. The player who has overcome every challenge thrown his way, who has been able to adapt and control the field no matter how many genius level players are present, has been Yoichi Isagi. He has proven time and again that there is no limit to how far he can go, and that there is no one he is not able to devour and overcome. In this way, Isagi represents the core heart of Blue Lock's philosophy, taking pieces from every player on the field and adding it to his arsenal to get one step closer to becoming the best striker in the world. This is the purpose of Blue Lock, to cultivate a talent who can devour the very best, and Isagi has demonstrated that he is capable of doing that in the Neo Egoist League. Isagi has shown both that he has the innate talent needed to become a world-class player like Sei Itoshi, as well as the proper cultivation in order to reach that goal, unlike players who have had those dreams crushed like Oliver Aiku. Since winning the U20 match against the Japanese national team, Isagi has been immersed in the global stage, playing against the best U20 clubs in the world. He has been playing amongst the best players the sport has to offer, and has shown that he is capable of adapting to their level of play. Isagi denying a goal from Chris Prince, and playing alongside the best player in the world, Noel Noah, has shown that he is not only able to keep up with these players, but he is able to devour them and intends to surpass them eventually. The fact that he's able to do this at such a young age shows that his peak abilities as a player are yet to be shown. The Blue Lock program will succeed, and Yoichi Isagi will become the best striker in the world.
July 2nd, 2018. It was the 52nd minute and Japan had just scored again against Belgium, and now the score was 2-0 in Japan's favor. They seemed primed to move on to the quarterfinal, a historic result for the Samurai Blue. That is, until disaster struck. And in the 69th minute, Jan Vertonghen headed in a goal, and the floodgates opened. The game eventually ended with Japan still at 2, but sadly, Belgium had scored 3 goals to win the game. This real-life soul-crushing defeat for the Japanese national team sets up the stage for the hit new soccer manga and upcoming anime, Blue Lock. So, what is Blue Lock about? Well, Blue Lock is a fictional manga set in Japan during the aftermath of the 2018 defeat to Belgium. It follows a promising high school striker, Yoichi Isagi, as he participates in the titular Blue Lock program, which is a training program devised by Shinichi Ito, and it's also Japan's solution to translate the Cup. And this program sets out to try to create the ultimate striker, one capable of leading victory. Forming the foundational philosophy of this training program is the idea of creating an egotistical striker. But what exactly is an egotistical striker? And does this egotistical philosophy transfer to the real world? Are top strikers necessarily egotistical? And most importantly, is ego even necessary to succeed in soccer or sports in general? These are the questions that we'll be looking at today as we explore the philosophy of Blue Lock. So, what is an egotistical striker, as defined by Blue Lock? Well, to understand what the manga means when it describes an egotistical striker, I think it's important to understand the general context the manga is set in. And by this, I mean, I think it's important to try to understand the current Japanese philosophy of soccer, as shown in the manga and in life, and to show why So, in regards to the Japanese national team's tactics in the world, People Football has a fantastic analysis of the 2018 Japanese national team's playstyle. And to give a brief summary of that video, in 2018, Japan played with a possession-based style of soccer, one that focuses heavily on quick passing and team-focused play, and it had a heavy reliance on midfielders and fullbacks to control possession, while the front four also played their own roles. So, in short, Japan's playstyle was heavily team-focused, with each player being a specific cog in a machine that is the Japanese national team. The sentiment is also echoed throughout the manga, with Henri Kovaaks from the Japanese Football Association noting that Japan has a passing style, and Hitachi Ito noting that Japan has an heavy emphasis on sticking to fixed rules in their play. So given that we know Japan's philosophy is very role-oriented, Eagle's philosophy stands out even more. We see that he believes that soccer isn't centered around the team, but rather the individuals involved, and specifically the strikers in the team. And this leads to his philosophy of an egotistical striker. You see, egotistical in this case doesn't mean an absolute life, but rather a player with specific qualities of sort. And while ego doesn't really outright define what an egotistical striker is, he does list a lot of qualities. And among these qualities, a few stand out. These defining qualities are that an egotistical player is someone who treads a path of winning or losing everything every single day to keep on surviving. They are someone who, rather than do what was best for their team, had the tenacity and courage to pursue their own will, and they are someone who thinks of everyone else on the team as supporting them. And so, when looking at these qualities, I think a central theme emerges that helps to define what an egotistical striker is. And I think that the central idea that the manga is leading towards is the idea that an egotistical striker is a self-centered striker that always believes they are or can be the best player in the world, and that they always strive to be that best player. And this theme seemingly fits with all the qualities we mentioned before. It fits with the idea that a striker needs to take responsibility for the team, since they believe that they are the best player on the pitch, and they have to act to lead the team that supports them to victory. They know that amongst their team, their will and choices are most directly impacting their chances of victory, and as such, they must pursue what they believe in. They also know that they must try to walk each path to victory so that they can continue to be the best player. And that doesn't mean that they don't acknowledge their mistakes, but rather they try to grow from them so that they can always be the best that they visualize themselves as. And so with this, we can see that Jinpachi Iida's philosophy directly clashes with that of the Japanese national football teams, and specifically with the Japanese national team striker in the 2018 World Cup. When we look back to the Japanese national team, we see that their central striker, Shinji Okazaki, isn't an egotistical striker, but rather he works to bring other people into the match. And making this decision, Shinji Okazaki doesn't match Igo's philosophy, and he effectively denies the existence of a focal point for the Japanese national team. And thus, Igo pins the lack of competitiveness for Japan on this lack of egotism in their strikers. And this leads us to the next point. Is egotism necessary for a striker to succeed in soccer? According to the manga, the answer is obviously yes, with Jinpachi Igo vehemently pushing egotism as a deciding key factor for a striker's performance. But is the answer the same in the real world? Well, if we want to look at whether or not ego is necessary to succeed, I think it's vital to look at the current top strikers. And so usually when we think of the current day top strikers, we think of people like Ronaldo, Messi, and Zlatan, all three of which are and have been exceptionally prolific goal scorers. But are these players necessarily egotistical? Well, in regards to that, these three players most certainly can be regarded as egotistical players. Ronaldo, infamously after winning his 5th Ballon d'Or, stated that he's the best player in history. Messi's nickname is the Little Dictator, a moniker that he earned as a result of his seemingly dominance over FC Barcelona and his control of their playstyle and the team on the pitch. And Zlatan, well, we all know Zlatan's antics.
Who's the best striker in the Premier League right now?
For me, I like a striker that makes the difference. Lukaku is strong. He's more the physical player that scores a lot of goals. Aguero is good.
You didn't say yourself. I was expecting you to say me.
Lions, they don't compare themselves with humans.
Even players like Lukaku and Lewandowski, who are respected top goal scorers for Serie A and the Bundesliga, have demonstrated egotistical qualities like that of what Jinpachi Igo has described. But even though many of these top world-class strikers have been regarded as egotistical, is there any research that seemingly backs up Jinpachi Igo's claim that strikers need to be egotistical to succeed? And so, while we haven't really found much research that directly shows a link between quote-unquote egotism and soccer performance, we do have research that suggests that self-confidence has been shown to be significantly correlated with skillful sports performance. And this has been reaffirmed by many different studies, including a study done by MSU professor Deborah L. Phelps, or a study done by S. Hyland and Bonnie Bennett. We also have testimony from key figures in the soccer world. Bill Beswick, a former sports psychologist who has worked for Manchester United in England, cites that ego is very powerful and can be the driving force of performances. And Mike Ford, a former director of football for Chelsea, has stated that you need a high level of confidence and self-belief to perform. And that is what we characterize as ego. Even Jose Mourinho, the current manager for AS Roma and one of the greatest modern coaches, has expressed how he loves players with a certain ego, having recently stated to his team near Los Inter Milan that the greatest defect of a man is a lack of balls, a personality. Yeah, and so with all of this evidence in mind, it definitely suggests that having at least a certain amount of ego is necessary for a striker to succeed. But soccer is a sport played with 11 players on a team. And so how does having an egotistical striker affect the team? Well, this leads us to our next point. Is an egotistical striker necessary for a team to succeed in soccer? And so the entire framework of the manga is built around the idea that you need an egotistical striker to lead the team. And so in the manga, the answer is generally yes. And so while Blue Lock itself acknowledges that yeah, some of the top strikers of the day still haven't won a World Cup, Jinpachi Igo believes that the foundation of the team can only be built through the presence of a true egotistical striker. Without this foundation, Igo believes that teams will devolve with a chaotic, unorganized play, and thus a top striker is needed to guide the team forward. However, when we look at the real world, the results may vary. Sure, historically there have been many teams that have won as a result of being centered around an egotistical striker, with the infamous Real Madrid team of 2018 that won 3 Champions League in a row being a prime example. But in the past few years, we noticed that the presence of a top egotistical striker isn't the end-all be-all. With teams like Liverpool and Man City having a high prominence in the sport, it sort of breaks the mold of needing an egotistical striker. I mean, sure, Liverpool has players like Mo Salah and Sadio Mane, but manager Jurgen Klopp himself has fundamentally stated that all players are treated equally, with Liverpool goalkeeper Alisson reiterating the statement that you will not find a player with a bigger ego than the collective goals. And Man City has been playing a strikerless system, as described by their coach Pep Guardiola, who is a big proponent of tiki-taka soccer, which is a possession-based team playstyle. On the other hand, we have coaches like Max Allegri, the head coach of Juventus, who firmly believes in letting the players' egos shine through the tactics, having infamously stated in the past that the tactics, schemes, they're all bullshit, and that the way to get the best out of players such as Ronaldo is to give them free license to do as they wish and not weigh them down. And so, while a world-class egotistical striker might not necessarily be the end-all be-all, we can still see that these egotistical strikers have a massive impact on teams. For example, Ronaldo, after having left Juve, caused the team to be in disarray, as he was their focal point of attack, and the Juve players themselves admitted to an over-reliance on Ronaldo. A similar trend happened to Messi, who, after leaving Barcelona, the team fell into shambles, performing poorly, and in the season after he left, the team dropped out of the Champions League in the group stages, as well as fundamentally dropped out of title contention by January. And so, while we do see that an egotistical striker can have a positive influence on the team, we also see that some teams manage without them. And so, at the end of the day, we can't really exactly quantify how much an egotistical striker impacts a team. So, what can we really conclude? Honestly, we can't really conclude whether or not Japanese Ego's philosophies are all true. We don't know whether or not having an egotistical striker is the clear solution for what would make the Japanese national team a world-class team. But we can definitely see that Ego's philosophy that the top strikers do possess a certain amount of egotism is fairly correct. Regardless of whether or not all of the philosophies of Blue Lock are true, it definitely is something exciting to think about, especially with all the big personalities and teams that we have in modern day soccer. And even if it doesn't turn out to be true, it doesn't take away from the pure enjoyment that comes from reading Blue Lock. And so I'm super excited for this anime to come out in the summer, and to see how they adapt this vision. So yeah, thank you guys all for watching, and please let me know what you guys think in the comments down below.
Selfishness, right? rivalries, and ego. I won't lie, ever since I heard about the concept behind Blue Lock, I wasn't a fan. I never bothered to even read the first chapter because the very idea of it just felt wrong, especially considering what the sports genre means to me. To me, sports anime has always been this ray of hope, a genre that, when done right, encourages me to chase my dreams, motivates me to work hard, and teaches me lessons that I will never forget. From Haikyuu to Aoashi to Run with the Wind, these are stories that moved me, inspired me. To me, sports anime is about hope, and I wouldn't have it any other way. But there was one truth I couldn't deny. Blue Lock was making waves. I mean, October 2022 has been an insane season for anime, with highly anticipated debuts like Chainsaw Man, new seasons for beloved shows like Mob Psycho, and even the return of one of the legendary Big Three, Bleach. Amongst all these internet-breaking releases, Blue Lock somehow managed to stand out. So even though every fiber of my being warned against it, I decided to watch the first episode. And you know what? I was completely and utterly wrong. Blue Lock is fucking phenomenal. If there was one word I could use to describe Blue Lock, it would be... From the very first episode in the very first sequence, Blue Lock acknowledges its insanity, embraces its madness, striving to make us feel but one and only one emotion: pure raw hype. From the dark blue auras to the pitch black paint to the bone-chilling smiles and the hungry eyes, Blue Lock excels at the art of hype. These battle shonen-esque visuals lean into the insanity of the story, a fast-paced, unpredictable, and weirdly inspiring journey of a boy who wants to be the best striker in the world. Our main character is a boy named Yoichi Isagi, a talented striker who used to value teamwork over anything else. However, in a decisive, career-defining match, instead of scoring the winning goal himself, Isagi passes it to his teammate, just like he was taught his entire life. But his friend misses the shot, resulting in Isagi's team losing not only the game, but also their chances at going to nationals. Isagi is heartbroken after the loss, breaking down on his way home and wondering if he will ever get to win again. However, when he gets home, he receives a letter from the Japanese Football Union, inviting him to a training camp of sorts. When he gets there though, he realizes every single player invited to this camp is a striker. And that's when we're introduced to the manic, borderline crazy coach, Ego Jinpachi. Ego tells the boys that they have been invited to join a program called Blue Lock. Its purpose, to birth the best striker in all of Japan. And that would be accomplished by pitting all 300 of these strikers against each other in a brutal, ruthless survival of the fittest training regiment, from which only one superstar would emerge victorious. After all, to be the greatest striker was to be the greatest egoist. Truly is a crazy premise, but honestly, apart from the egoism and the selfishness, I was surprised to find that there is a level of depth to it. From the various training exercises to the high-stakes rivalries to the clashing philosophies of what it means to be a striker, Blue Lock walks a fine line between hype and nuance. Ego splits up the players into groups of 11, based on their rankings out of 300. Isagi is ranked 299, and the rest of his group is in the bottom 11 range as well. They are Team Z, the worst, while Team B would be the best. In order to survive in Blue Lock, teams have to win a certain amount of games if they all want to make it. Or, individuals within the team have to score a certain amount of goals to make it alone. So even if your team loses, as long as you score the goals, you can still survive. Now you've got 11 players hungry to score goals, but everyone can't be the striker when playing on a team. That's when it got interesting to me, and I began asking the question, how? Not just how is Isagi going to defeat all of these monsters, or how will Isagi become the best, but how can 11 strikers work together while also trying to screw each other over? It's something that hooked me, an unpredictable element that I still can't get a hold of. Are they gonna find a way around it? Are they gonna betray each other? Are they gonna be best friends? I can never tell, and I love that. And then you've got the action itself, which is a spectacle to watch, particularly because of the circumstances I just mentioned. One of the key ideas of Blue Lock is that this team has to figure out a new kind of football for themselves, a system that works for their style of play. This is not conventional football, not by any stretch of the imagination, which basically means that you have no idea what the players will do. Apart from winning the game, every single player has a personal goal they need to achieve, a personal goal they need to score. And so it never goes how you expect it to. You've got teammates stealing the ball from each other, making unexpected passes that have ill intentions, and shooting from positions that seem ridiculous. And the element that brings all of it together, the bow that ties all these aspects of Blue Lock into a beautiful, exciting, and hype story, is its visuals. The fast, dynamic movements paired with slow, intense realizations create an atmosphere of uncertainty and surprise. The terrifying, focused eyes paired with fiery blue auras invoke a feeling of anticipation and excitement. Blue Lock perfectly expresses that deep, deadly desire to win through dramatic visuals that beautifully complement our beloved characters. We have this group of strikers who are willing to lose
by sporty jocks. It only got worse when I went to university and moved to the UK. There, I was indoctrinated into woke.
I don't like sports anime, but Blue Lock looks incredible. And I've tried sitting through other sports anime before, but none of them have been able to hold my attention past the first few episodes. And it's a bit hard to put into words why it is exactly. But as soon as I clicked on episode 1 on Crunchyroll, I just had to keep going. I couldn't stop watching. The show follows football player Yoichi Isagi after losing the finals to play nationals because he passed the ball instead of taking a shot himself. After screaming his heart out, he selected to join the Blue Lock experiment, a football battle royale made up of 300 players in order to create the greatest striker in Japan, in order to finally win the World Cup. This show is 100% hype, and I mean 100, because since they're locked in a prison, there's no time for any high school drama, no time for any romance subplots, and there's no godforsaken beach episodes. This show is just football, match after match, and as a person who doesn't like football, I assume this would be a negative for me, but I can't help but feel like this is what made the show as good as it is. The focus is all on the players. And I think this is what let the show hold my attention for so long, especially when compared to other shonens as a whole. Almost every series seems to focus on a main character trying to reach some kind of big goal, working together with allies and friends whilst giving it their all to make it. And while this isn't anything new, sports anime seems to be able to boil this idea down to its purest form. A team of like-minded people all playing together to do one thing: win. But weirdly enough, the biggest twist in the sports genre isn't the fact that they're locked in a prison, assigned numbers, and forced to compete in competitions in order to be the last winner standing. Football is a team sport, and you'd assume that the main takeaway is about the importance of teamwork and friendship. But it's not. It's about ego. Watching any other shonen sports anime, or any shonen anime in general, will probably tell you that friendship is everything. This show is the exact antithesis to that. It's about focusing on yourself. Now, this doesn't mean to play with yourself, but it does mean to play for yourself. Now, I think it's important to define what the show actually means by ego. I don't think this definition properly fits what the show is trying to go for. When the show says that a striker needs to have an ego to win, It's not saying that they need to be self-centered or narcissistic to play alone. It's saying that they need to feel self-important enough to believe that they can win, to believe that their reason for winning, that their effort to win will beat out those that they play against. To not be afraid to have the ego, to have the confidence, to believe that they can be the best, to achieve their dream, to do everything to be the best, because if they're not, someone else will be. Whilst there's definitely something wrong with playing selfishly at the expense of everyone else, there's absolutely nothing wrong with having the confidence to believe that you can be better, because in order to be the best, you have to have the ego to believe that you can be. But you should take a lot of this with a grain of salt, because although Blue Lock seems to have quite a lot to say, it's not the reason why so many of us seem to love this show. To put it simply, it's just really well done. Every single character has some sort of weapon, a skill that they alone are able to use to bring about a goal, to bring about a win, doing everything they can with their respective skills until they can't go any further, until they absolutely need help. And it's just so incredible watching them. This show isn't really about football. I don't even like football, and I can tell this isn't even close to accurate. But it's just so hype that it doesn't even matter. All 11 players play with the goal of being the best, simultaneously not just working together, but competing with one another, inspiring each other to become the best, not just to win, but to be the reason that they did win. All shonen anime have an overarching goal to work towards the entire series, becoming Hokage, to find the One Piece, to... okay, maybe not that one. But in Blue Lock, every single episode has its own simple goal to follow, something we can always be invested in seeing happen. But that goes for every sports anime. And now I finally understand why we love all these shows. Every single second of each episode exists to build to that one climactic moment. When the music starts to ramp up, the sums of all the efforts and motivations of each character all come into one single moment where the strongest will, no, the one with the greatest ego, comes out on top. I'm still not playing real sports though.
Self-improvement, the improvement of one's knowledge, status, or character by one's own efforts. Self-improvement isn't about being the best in your friend group, how much money you make, or your social status. It's about being better than the past version of yourself, who you were when you started your journey versus where you are now. Everyone has the option to self-improve when you start making decisions for yourself. So what happens when you're forced to become the best version of yourself? And some maniac named Ego decides to come up with a competition where the best soccer players compete against each other, and if they lose, their career is finished. Then you get Blue Lock, one of the best sports manga anime of all time. The characters in this show are put against each other and have to elevate to the level of their competition in order to improve. But more importantly, they have to look within themselves to analyze their strengths and weaknesses. The main character of Blue Lock is Isagi Yoshi. Isagi started out as a shy forward who passed first and thought about himself later. However, throughout the story, he develops into a super confident striker who doesn't hesitate to score a goal. He had to cultivate this insane level of confidence through trial and error, dealing with success and failure over and over, learning each time. He and the other characters throughout the series all have a strong desire to grow because they share the same goal, being the best soccer player in the world. They can't afford to be complacent and must be beyond capable in aspects like intelligence, athleticism, and most importantly, ego. Some may see Blue Lock as a negative take on teamwork and camaraderie, with characters who are narcissistic and cruel, while I see a self-improvement journey fueled by one's own confidence and ambition. In this video, I'm going to be identifying the 5 main elements of self-improvement, and Blue Lock is showing an actual self-improvement journey to look at. Element 1. The motivation. The story of Blue Lock takes place after Japan loses another World Cup and humiliates its country. This prompts the country to create a football program where they recruit upcoming players, specifically forwards, when they compete against each other. There's a catch. If they lose, their soccer career is ruined and they will never get a chance to play at the World Cup. However, if they win, they're guaranteed a spot on the World Cup Junior roster. On the surface, all the characters have the same driving factor. They want to win Blue Lock and win a spot on the World Cup Junior team. But it's deeper than that. They not only have a strong desire to not want to lose, but the punishment also serves as the motivation. If they lose, their dreams of playing at the highest level are over. Plus, the shame of losing makes it even worse. They recently did a study on top athletes like Michael Phelps, LeBron James, and other high-level individuals, and the results were shocking. They didn't have a positive response to winning. They actually felt relieved when they won because they hated the feeling of losing. Even in the anime, when Team Z beat Team Y, the pressure was so high in that situation because everyone knew what would happen if they lost. If you play sports growing up, you know the feeling when coach said, yo, if we lose this game, the whole team's running suicide. I don't know about you, but I've never played harder defense in my life. Motivation doesn't just have to be a positive. It can also be a negative, like a punishment or a consequence. Whatever gets you to accomplish what you want to do. For instance, you could say, if I don't find my purpose and become financially successful, then I won't have the life I want and I won't be able to help my family. Having a motivation can help you accomplish goals that will take a lot of effort and sacrifice to achieve. Element 2, physical development. Soccer is one of the most, if not the most physically demanding sports out there, with soccer players running an average of around 6 to 8 miles per game, which is why the athletes in Blue Lock are always in peak condition. Soccer isn't a sport where the players are known to be exceptionally strong and bulky like football, or incredibly tall like basketball. They're known for being very lean, and also having massive quads. Just look at some of these guys. They have to be training really hard just to keep themselves in top shape. The reason why lifting weights and developing an aesthetic physique is so important is because it shows discipline and progression. It's not about who has more muscle, you or the next person. It's about the current version of yourself versus the past version. The second element is all about beginning to lift weights to get strong and build an impressive physique. This could be anywhere, at home, at a gym, or even outside. Element 3, always seek improvement. We all know the players in Blue Lock are super talented. Skills like passing, dribbling, even conditioning are seen as normalities in the anime. However, these skills have to be developed and sharpened day after day. In Blue Lock, we see examples of this when Isagi constantly awakes from his sleep to practice his skills and test his abilities against other players. This forced him to reevaluate his technique and approach to the game, fixing any errors he's previously made and helping him become an overall better player. So after we establish our goal and purpose, we should always be trying to elevate and never get comfortable in our situation. Complacency is the killer of success. There's been a whole bunch of stories of athletes or entertainers who lost it all because they got comfortable. Let's all try not to make the same mistake they made. If you have a YouTube channel, try to make every video better than your last video. If you're an athlete, try to work on a level of your game that needs improvement. No matter what it is that you do, there's always work that needs to be done. Element 4, extreme self-belief. Isagi and other players in Blue Lock have to have a high level of self-belief because they can't have any doubt within themselves when it comes to scoring or making game-changing plays. When Isagi went up against Nico from Team Y, a player who had a similar skill set to his, the only deciding factor was Isagi's self-belief. Nico chose to pass the ball instead of scoring. This allowed for Isagi to steal the ball and score a goal of his own. Isagi had enough self-belief to take a risk and it played off game time with Nico and Team Y being sent home. If I had never taken the chance to put myself out there on social media and talk about my self-improvement and weight loss journey, I would have never got the chance to meet you guys and impact you in a positive way, and I'm always going to be appreciative. Just like the old saying goes, no risk, no risk. Element 5, embrace the dark side. Most people view the characters in Blue Lock as flat out crazy, but in reality, if we all put our thoughts out there for the world to judge, we'd all be looked at as crazy. At least they're open about it. You have a striker with the need to be treated like a king, a dribble god who plays with an imaginary monster, and we can't forget about the death threats that are being said every other chapter. They all embrace the dark part of themselves, which allows